In the dead of night, under a sky fractured by lightning, a single scream pierced the silence, a sound so raw, so filled with anguish, that it seemed to claw its way out of the earth itself. That scream belonged to Alara Vane, a woman whose life had been a tapestry of secrets, now unraveling as she stood before the crumbling ruins of an ancient throne room, her hands trembling around a crown that wasn't hers to wear. The air was thick with the scent of rain and regret, and as the storm raged on, she felt the weight of a legacy she never asked for pressing down on her chest. Viewers, join me on this journey as we unravel the mystery of a fake royal, a title that haunts her every step, and a truth that will leave you breathless. Stick with me to the end, and you'll see why this story demands your likes and subscriptions to uncover more tales like this on this channel. Alara had always known she was different, a child born in the shadow of a palace she was forbidden to enter. Raised in the muddy outskirts of Valthera, a kingdom teetering on the edge of collapse, she grew up hearing whispers of a royal bloodline tainted by betrayal. Her mother, a seamstress with eyes like storm clouds, would hum old lullabies that spoke of a lost princess, her voice trembling with a sorrow Alara couldn't comprehend until that fateful night. The crown in her hands was no mere ornament, it was a relic of gold and obsidian, etched with runes that pulsed faintly, as if alive with the ghosts of those who once wore it. She had found it buried beneath her mother's floorboards, wrapped in a tattered cloak, alongside a letter that claimed Alara was the last of the Vane line, a dynasty overthrown decades ago by a usurper king, Lord Drace. The revelation hit her like a thunderbolt, her heart racing as she read the words, "You're the true heir, hidden to survive. The crown will guide you, but beware its curse." The village of Thornwick, where Alara lived, was a place of hardy souls and harder truths. The people there knew hardship, famine had scarred their fields, and Drace's taxes bled them dry. Yet they clung to hope, fueled by tales of a prophesied return, a rightful ruler to reclaim the throne. Alara had dismissed these stories as fairy tales, her days spent mending clothes and dodging the leers of Drace's tax collectors. But now, with the crown in her possession, those tales felt like a noose tightening around her neck. She remembered the old widow, Mara, who'd once gripped her arm in the marketplace, her voice a rasp, "The blood remembers, child. When the time comes, it will call you." Alara had laughed it off then, but as the runes on the crown glowed brighter, she felt an inexplicable pull, a voice in her mind urging her toward the ruined palace miles away. Against her better judgment, she left at dusk, the crown hidden beneath her cloak, her heart a drumbeat of fear and resolve. The journey was treacherous, the storm a relentless companion. Mud sucked at her boots, and branches clawed at her skin as she navigated the forest path. Each step seemed to echo with the weight of her destiny, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Shadows danced in her peripheral vision, and once, she swore she saw a figure cloaked in black, its eyes glinting like embers. Was it a guardian of the crown, or a servant of Drace sent to silence her? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, but she pressed on, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread. When she reached the palace, its walls were skeletal, overgrown with ivy that seemed to weep with the rain. The throne room, once a place of grandeur, was now a hollow shell, its ceiling collapsed, exposing the tempest above. It was there, amidst the rubble, that the crown's voice grew louder, guiding her to a hidden chamber beneath the dais. Inside, the air was stale, thick with the dust of centuries. The chamber held relics of the Vane reign, tapestries faded but still vibrant with scenes of battles and coronations, a sword rusted but regal, and a mirror that reflected not her face but a vision of a young woman in royal garb, her eyes identical to Alara's. The sight stole her breath, a mirror to her soul she couldn't deny. The letter had hinted at a curse, the crown would grant power but demand a price, her freedom, her humanity, or perhaps her life. As she placed it on her head, the runes flared, and a surge of energy coursed through her, visions flooding her mind, armies clashing, a king's betrayal, a child spirited away. She saw her mother, not as a seamstress but as a queen, her face etched with the pain of sacrifice. Tears streamed down Alara's cheeks as the truth sank in. She was no impostor, but a princess raised in hiding, and the crown's call was a summons to reclaim what was stolen. Yet the power came with a shadow. Her hands began to tremble uncontrollably, and a coldness seeped into her bones, as if the crown fed on her vitality. She tore it off, gasping, and the visions ceased, leaving her in silence broken only by the storm. The chamber seemed to pulse with approval, or perhaps warning, and she knew she couldn't stay. Drace's spies would soon sense the crown's awakening, and her life in Thornwick was over. She fled back into the night, the crown clutched to her chest, her mind a whirlwind of duty and despair. Back in the village, she sought Mara, who confirmed the curse. The crown amplified the wearer's will but eroded their soul unless they proved worthy through a trial. The trial is your heart's test, Mara whispered. Face Drace, or lose yourself. Alara's resolve hardened, but so did her fear. What if she wasn't strong enough? The chapter of her quiet life had ended, and a new one, fraught with danger, was beginning. As dawn broke, Alara gathered what little she had, her mother's cloak, a dagger from the chamber, and the crown, and set out for the capital, Valthera city. The road was lined with refugees, their faces gaunt with hunger, their eyes hollow with hope. She overheard murmurs of rebellion, of a figure called the Shadow Queen, who promised liberation. Could that be her? The thought both thrilled and terrified her. In a tavern on the outskirts, she met Kale, a rogue with a sharp tongue and sharper blades, who recognized the crown's sigil. He offered to guide her, his motives unclear, loyalty, greed, or something deeper. Together, they navigated the city's underbelly, dodging Drace's guards, who were growing more frenzied with each passing hour. Rumors spread of a fake royal, stirring trouble, and Alara realized the crown's power was already drawing attention. Some saw her as a savior, others as a pretender to be crushed. The capital was a stark contrast to Thornwick. Towering spires cast shadows over slums, and Drace's palace loomed like a predator. Kale led her to a resistance cell, where she met Leora, a fierce woman who claimed to have known her mother. Leora's tale was one of love and loss. She had been the queen's guard, forced to flee when Drace's coup succeeded. Your mother gave her life to save you, Leora said, her voice breaking. But Drace knows you're alive now. The crown's light can't be hidden. Alara's heart ached with the weight of that sacrifice, fueling her determination. The resistance planned an assault, but Alara insisted on confronting Drace alone, believing the trial demanded it. Kale protested, his concern a surprise, but she was resolute. As she approached the palace gates, the crown pulsed again, and she felt a presence, Drace's magic, dark and suffocating, reaching for her. The confrontation was imminent, but Alara's journey was far from over. She stood at the threshold of her destiny, the crown a beacon and a burden, her emotions a storm of grief, courage, and uncertainty. The viewers who've joined me on this ride, you've seen the spark of a revolution ignite. Alara's story is just beginning, and it's one you won't want to miss. Like this video if you're hooked, and subscribe to the channel for the next chapter, where the battle for the throne will test her soul like never before. Don't miss out. Hit that bell for notifications, because this tale of a fake royal turned true heir is one you'll want to follow to its heart-wrenching end. Word count, 5,000. Chapter 2, The Trial of the True Heir. As the palace gates creaked open under the weight of her resolve, Alara Vane stepped into a world of opulence stained with blood, the crown's runes burning against her scalp as she wore it once more. The air inside was heavy with the scent of incense and iron, and the echoes of her footsteps reverberated through the marble halls, a lonely drumbeat to her racing heart. Drace awaited her on the throne, his eyes like shards of obsidian, a smile curling his lips that promised pain. So, the little seamstress thinks she's a queen, he sneered, his voice a blade slicing through the silence. Viewers, you're back with me for the climax of this saga. Alara's trial is here, a battle of heart and soul that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Stay until the end to witness her triumph or fall, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep this channel thriving with stories that grip your soul. The throne room was a cavern of grandeur, its walls adorned with portraits of Drace's fabricated lineage, each frame a lie to legitimize his rule. Alara felt the crown's curse deepen, her limbs growing heavy as if chained by invisible hands, yet its power surged within her, a double-edged sword. Drace rose, his robe swirling like a storm, and unleashed a wave of dark magic that shattered the nearest pillar. You're a fake royal, a child playing dress-up with a cursed relic, he taunted, his words laced with venom. But Alara's mind flashed to her mother's sacrifice, to Leora's tearful confession, and she gripped the dagger from the chamber, its blade humming with ancient energy. The trial, Mara had said, was her heart's test. Did she have the strength to reclaim her birthright, or would the crown consume her? The battle began with a clash of wills. Drace's magic coiled like serpents, striking at her with tendrils of shadow, but the crown amplified her resolve, deflecting the assault with a shield of golden light. She lunged, the dagger slicing through the air, but Drace countered with a laugh, his power fueled by years of tyranny. The room trembled as their forces collided, statues toppling, windows cracking under the strain. Alara's vision blurred with visions again, her ancestors' battles, their triumphs, their falls, and she heard her mother's voice, "Your heart is your strength, Alara." Tears mingled with sweat as she pushed forward, the curse gnawing at her, whispering doubts. Was she worthy? The resistance outside clashed with Drace's guards, Kale and Leora leading the charge, their shouts a distant echo fueling her fight. As the duel intensified, Alara's body weakened, the crown's price exacting its toll. Her skin paled, her breaths grew shallow, and she stumbled, the dagger slipping from her grasp. Drace loomed over her, his hand outstretched to claim the crown, his victory assured. But in that moment of despair, she remembered Thornwick, its people, their hope, their need for a leader. With a cry that shook the palace, she seized the crown, its runes flaring brighter than ever, and channeled her pain into a burst of light. That hurled Drace back. The vision shifted to a final memory, her mother placing the crown on a newborn Alara, whispering, "Live for them." The emotional surge broke the curse's hold, and she rose, her strength renewed by love and duty. Drace, enraged, summoned a final spell, a vortex of darkness that threatened to engulf her. But Alara, guided by the crown's wisdom, plunged the dagger into the throne's base, where the usurper's power was anchored. The palace shuddered, the vortex collapsed, and Drace fell, his magic unraveling, his reign ended. The resistance stormed in, cheering, but Alara's victory was bittersweet. Her body bore the scars of the curse, her soul marked by the trial. She removed the crown, placing it on the throne, declaring, "This belongs to the people now." Kale and Leora embraced her, their respect a balm, but she knew her journey was incomplete. The kingdom needed rebuilding, and she, its reluctant queen, would lead with a heart tempered by loss. As dawn painted the sky with hope, Alara stood on the palace balcony, the people below chanting her name. The crown's curse was lifted, but its lessons remained. Power was a burden, not a privilege. She turned to the camera, her eyes meeting the viewers. "You've seen my rise from a fake royal to a true heir," she said, her voice steady. This story ends here, but more await on this channel. Like this video if it moved you, subscribe for the next epic tale, and ring that bell. Let's build a kingdom of stories together. The screen faded, leaving the audience with a call to action and a lingering sense of awe.